Hello, welcome to our first edition 2024 for What the Papers Are Saying. Thank you so much for joining us for this year as we started this show. Now, What the Papers Are Saying basically looks at the big stories for the week as reported by the big media outlets. And then we look at the various angles reported on those stories and matters arising from those stories. When we come back, I'll take you through the big stories for the week, introduce my guest, and we'll delve into the stories. To stay, we'll be right back.
Alumni of SWO Senior High School presents the SWO Conversations. The SWO Conversations is the annual thought leadership event by the Old Swesconians Association designed to bring together the brightest minds from industry and academia. The SWO Conversations 2024 is on the theme Feeding Ourselves as a Nation, Perspectives on Revolutionizing Our Agricultural Fortunes. The date is Monday the 12th of February 2024. The venue is the Asante Hall, Alisa Hotel, Northridge, Accra. The time is 3 p.m. Join our main speaker, Dr. Roger Canton, and our panelists, PSCA Professor Kwame Ejefrimpong of UCC, PSCA Dr. Enoch Tam Ejekum of KNUST, and PSCA Professor Festus Anofrimpong of the UCC as they delve into practical ways that can revolutionize the agric sector. Contact your year group president for further details or call our global secretary on 0244 940 493. Semper Cum Optimus. Always with the best.
On your marks, get set.
Are you an athletics fan or do you miss the days of Intercop? Well, here's some exciting news. Ghana Athletics, in collaboration with Citi TV, present the maiden edition of the National Invitational Student Athletics Championship. NISAC is a 5-day event that will start from Saturday 24th to Wednesday the 28th of February 2024. The National Invitational Student Athletics Championship will bring together about 2,000 top individual athletes from various second cycle institutions across the country to compete in the following athletic disciplines: track and field, sprints, middle and long distance events, as well as jumping and throwing events. Come out and support your favorite athletes and your favorite schools. The National Invitational Student Athletics Championship will be happening from the 24th to the 28th of February 2024 at the University of Ghana Stadium. NISAC, it's time to unearth the athletic stars of the future.
So you're welcome back to What the Papers Are Saying. My name is Vivian Kylo. Let me take you through the big stories for the week. We'll start with fallouts from the NPP's parliamentary primaries for constituencies that it has certain MPs and some very interesting developments around that election. Let's see how that was captured the next day. Let's look at the Ghanaian Times. They say NPP parliamentary primaries, top brass candidates fall as others retain seats. And then still with fallouts from the elections, Daybreak says GJA wants Yendi MP arrested. And then finally on that story, we'll go to Citi Newsroom. They say we'll take action on Yendi poll once we receive full report. This is the party speaking. That's the NDC. We'll still stay with the elections, but of course we'll move away from the NPP's primaries. We'll look at the general elections proper and some proposals being initiated by the EC and how the various political parties are reacting to that. There was a meeting this week. So let's see how that was captured. Daily Guide says 2024 elections, parties want November dates. And then Daily Guide again, new EC reforms will bring chaos. new EC reforms will bring chaos. That's ex-President Mahama speaking. His reactions to some of the reforms being proposed by the Electoral Commission. Let's move away from elections and look at another story that was huge this week because it's taken quite a number of years for this story to evolve to come to this point. And that has to do with the judgment for those who killed Major Mahama. And the Daily Graphic reports it as such: Major Mahama murder, 12 jailed for life, 2 freed. The Chronicle says jury system should be scrapped. Godfrey Yeboah Dami says it delays some cases in court. So those are some of the angles from that story. We'll move away from that, and of course we'll go to the emission levy and VAT on electricity. And I'm sure you know that today the emissions levy took off. That's February 1st. Let's see how that story was captured. Prior to that, I'll just take you to citinewsroom.com, and it says emission levy takes effect today. And then we'll move to the Black Stars. They, of course, came out of the AFCON. And let's see how that story was captured. Citi Newsroom says GFA apologizes to Ghanaians, accepts responsibility for Black Stars' early AFCON exit. We'll wrap up with the exit of some 3 African countries from the ECOWAS. And Citi Newsroom again says Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger must reconsider decision to exit ECOWAS. This is an analyst speaking. So those are some of the big stories for the week as reported by some media outlets. When we come back, we'll introduce our guests and we'll take it from there. Do stay with us. So you're welcome back to What the Papers Are Saying. My name is David Kailoko. Let me introduce my guests for today's show. I have Samuel Atamensa. He is here with us at Citi FM and Citi TV. Mr. Atamensa, welcome.
Thank you, Vivian.
Then I also have Salom Adonu also here with us at Citi FM and Citi TV. Salom, welcome.
Thank you, Vivian.
Okay, so guys, we'll move quickly and start with politics and elections for that matter. We'll start with Saturday's elections of the NPP. Of course, primaries looking at constituencies with certain MPs. It was a very interesting election. Some big wigs falling, others came into the fray and all that. But I'll start quickly with many of you can go with this on the big surprises for you for the elections. Any of you can go. 2024, well, anybody goes.
Well, okay. So yes, big surprises.
Were there any at all for you?
Well, they were interesting. Big surprises, I'm not so sure. So, for example, Tanonoff, Gideon Boaku versus Frida Prempeh. I'm not sure if it was a surprise, but I was looking at it, thinking that it would be of course, it was quite, it wasn't a close race.
4-4 something, 2.
Yes, I was wondering how Gideon Boaku was going to pull that off, given that, this is a cabinet minister himself, technical advisor to the vice president. I thought it was a heavyweight fight. So I was really looking forward to see how it was going to pan out, and Gideon Boaku, defeated her quite comfortably. My good friend, Dr. Kabiru Mahama, I'm quite happy for him, but I've seen I've seen a rate also about the contest, and I wonder how that is going to play out. It was quite a close race, and prior to the election, of course, there were indications that NPP could likely lose the seat because the woman who is the gender minister was growing unpopular. And given the importance of that seat to the politics of Ghana and the politics of NPP, at least in 2024, because that's where Bawumia comes from, I thought that the Bawumia team would want to hold on to it. The interesting thing there is the woman, I think, is related to Bawumia, and Kabiru Mahama is his technical advisor as well. So I think
both in the camp, isn't it?
He finds himself in quite a difficult situation. I'm interested in seeing how they resolve that, legal matter. I don't think it will run its full haul. I think they will speak to the lady to withdraw the matter, so they look at it in a setting. In any case, you are a cabinet minister. Work hard so that you break the 8 and perhaps you keep being in power. And the
cabinet minister?
I mean, gender minister position. Yes. I mean, it's not fixed, but I'm just thinking that because Adwoa Safo was, I mean, the gender minister position
should
be cabinet. I mean, even though it's not fixed. So that's just my thinking. Tina Mensah, was I surprised? I thought it was going to be an interesting race as well. The landlady versus
the tenant.
Yeah, the tenant. And I mean, I watched Jerry Shaibu's one of his campaign talking about Edrobia Bekadem and things. And the fact that some people went to Beni, I don't know what that was. But I thought it was an interesting race, and he defeated a lady quite comfortably. Adwoa Safo and Gabo. I knew Gabo was going to win, most likely.
Okay.
But the share margin was what was surprising to me. I mean, it simply meant that he had done his job, and Adwoa Safo was also not around to influence the polling station elections and all of that. But Adwoa Safo is quite interesting because if you knew you were interested in this race 2 years ago, what were you doing? I mean, and all of that. I thought she was not going to run. If you knew you were still interested in the race, I mean, it's very bright future politically.
Maybe she thought she had a strategy to get the people back around.
Because the way this system runs, if you realize, a lot of the guys who want to contest start preparations at the polling station election level, because that's where a lot of the delegates come from. You were not in town, and your people, everybody was looking for you. Your own aides, etc., did you know where you were? Because I don't know how they were communicating. This election happened and a few others, and all the matters that happened in Parliament, the numbers and how important a single vote was, etc. And you were not around. All these elections happened, and people still feel that the E-Levy is not doing well because of all of those things, because of how it was played out in Parliament, etc. And now you come back wanting to represent them again. I thought it was going to be a tall order, and indeed, the votes showed it. I was just surprised that the margin was so
pretty huge. Okay, let me bring Samet in and take his initial remarks. Salam says, not surprising, but interesting. Same with you. And what were surprises or interesting outcomes for you?
Okay, thank you. I didn't have any surprises at all. Maybe I was disappointed my friend Obo didn't win. That's about it, but no surprises at all.
You saw the Adwoa defeat coming. You saw the Tina landlady one coming, Prempe coming, the Deputy Minister for Education coming.
I wouldn't say I saw the Adwoa one coming. Okay. I saw the Tina Mensah one coming. The Gifty Chuma Pofo. I don't know. I haven't followed that constituency much, to be honest. But I knew Jerry was going to win. I knew Gabo was going to win. I knew the Greater Accra minister was going to win. And
Well, what were you considering for? Because I remember the day of the election we were looking at, and some felt that, for example, the Jerry case, the landlady was going to have it. But what were you looking out for?
Because I speak with we've been tracking that constituency for a while. And there are some nodal points in that constituency where you have the young people who are the influencers within the party. And they were all singing from the same hymn book. And this is like 3-4 months ago. When at the time, in fact, truth is, Jerry is my friend. But I never heard from him.
Okay.
I actually heard from the constituency.
Okay.
Before asking him, I hear you are running. He said, I'm checking some things. The boys had determined that we would uproot this woman from here. Wow. They had laid everything down. So I wasn't surprised at all.
Okay.
Same with Kwabe, so no surprises.
So I mean, it's interesting the way Jerry went there and did all he did. He was called a choco lawyer in the previous contest because he was contesting.
Which area did he go to? Ablekuma South.
So they called him the choco. I'm sure he he loved the name Choco Lawyer because it made him identify with the people, you know. And so the woman was saying that he didn't come from the area, and so he was a stranger, and she was a landlady and all of that. And so she tried to get him disqualified, but the regional executives wouldn't have any of that. So I'm wondering how he worked his way around it, and he defeated the woman quite comfortably. I think what it also means is that if you are there for a while and you are not delivering, you should know that somebody from nowhere, I'm not sure the woman saw him coming, you know, somebody from nowhere will do his homework well and uproot you. I mean, it sends a good signal to the people that you don't take the constituents for granted, and you must always be on your A game to keep being in Parliament.
Now, should we be worried about the number of people or MPs that lost their seats? Does it send a message?
Well, it's does it send a message? Yeah, it sends a message. But to be worried about it, I'm not sure. And I don't even understand this whole thing about the talk about keeping some members of Parliament in office because they are experienced. Yeah. I think it cuts both ways. If you don't deliver, the people have needs, so you go. The people who come, they will also build experience over time. If they don't deliver, they go. It's a democracy, so I don't even understand why the discussion should really grow to the point that we should find ways of keeping some people in the house. You know, they may be useful to the national politics and Parliament in general, but the people they represent must see value in them. If the people don't find value in them, they will change them. So it is their duty to balance that. You can't be a star in Accra and in your constituency nobody sees you or you are not delivering. And so you must balance the two. And the mark of excellence or leadership is to know how to balance the two and ensure that one doesn't suffer, because you first need to satisfy the constituents to continue being a star in Accra. You know, and whilst they are thinking of maintaining or retaining or keeping experienced MPs who are doing well, they should also be thinking about kicking out old MPs who are not delivering. Nobody's mentioning that part of the discussion. I think it's good. I like the fact that more young people, Kabiru, Gideon Boaku, you know, all of those new guys are getting into the system. It's only with fresh energy, fresh ideas that our country can do well. Given where we are, we need to do a lot more to develop as a country. So yes, I'm not surprised at the numbers that I've lost. What it means is that you don't take the people for granted. Okay. Do your job well. When you do your job well, the people will reward you with victory.
So I mean, it's a new list that we are seeing now. We've seen the total look for the NPP, for example, both ways. I haven't finished with the first one, often announced certain MPs. The new crop of people, or the new selection for the 2024 for the MPs, is it a good team we are seeing that will help them, you know, improve their numbers in Parliament and also break them?
I'm not sure I have enough knowledge to make that determination, but maybe let me touch on the earlier points that Salom was making. Whether we should be worried, we should be concerned, and of course he answered rightly. I don't think the party itself is worried, so I don't know who else should be worried. I mean, party member goes out, another party member comes in. But the thing about it shows the unpopularity of the government. I depart from that. I mean, if Gideon Boaku won against Frida Prempeh, does it show unpopularity? Who's closer to the seat of government in this case? Gideon is closer. So I don't think it tells that kind of story. These are people who have lost on their individual accounts, and people who, if you like, have also won on their individual accounts. And so it's like a clean slate for them to now tell their own story. But it's just the first hurdle. The bigger hurdle is there in December of 2024. And that's when we'll know whether the selection was good or not. But at this point, we can just tickle ourselves and look at the people we like and say that, oh, there's a good team. You only know in December of 2024 whether it's a good team.
Okay.
So in December, whether it's a good team. So the guys who have won, I think they have a lot of work to do in closing the ranks in constituencies like Adansi Asokwa, and Katie Hammond, we may talk about him later. Adansi Asokwa, even Tanonoff and Wale, those constituencies, Yendi, where the contest was so keenly, fought. That is where the divisions and the problems will be coming from. So I read this evening that the party is set up regional reconciliation teams or committees. I think it's a step in the right direction. They must take it seriously, work with the winners and losers to ensure that they mend the cracks.
It all boils down to money. It's a money business. The one who has money will be able to meander their way through. And, the pain is for those who lost. The amount of money they spent, and then you have lost. And that's, it's the wound that is inflicted on you, it stays with you for a very long time. Especially if you lose and then your party loses the general election too. We'll see you at the next trotro station.
Right. So we had some developments. Of course, the KT Hammond one, making some statements that wasn't, honorable. And then, of course, we had the attack, our own Alabira being attacked and all that. Your thoughts around these things we keep seeing on during elections and how we can address some of these things?
KT Hammond, when he speaks, it's not every time, I'm sorry, but it's not every time you take him seriously, because there's a way he talks. But I'm not sure everybody, sometimes it's really difficult to tell when he's serious and when he's not.
Playing around.
And the way he went about that, getting beaten, the way he said it, I mean, and people are listening to you. It was a heated contest. And you are a cabinet minister, former deputy interior minister, a senior member of the party in parliament and all of that. And you are saying so of your opponent that he's organized boys to come and beat them. And he was telling police people that he will beat him, you give him a double beating. You will beat him at the post, and he will organize people to get him beaten. The way he said it. And I mean, it's not correct.
No,
and we must condemn that, and we condemn that. It's irresponsible of him to have said those things. And I'm sure, or I think the party should call him to order. They should find a way of getting him to retract or apologize to the people for saying those things on radio and on TV. It's not correct. And we can't have very senior members of our country speaking in that way. The tolerance level was zero. What was it? It was just an election. Anybody could win, anybody could lose. And after he won, I mean, he came out to say a few things: undisputed, undefeated, heavyweight champion of Adansi Asokwa politics and all of that. I think that people must call him to order. Of course, I kind of know how he talks. It's not everything he says you must take seriously. That is his nature. But in a heated contest like this, you don't say those things. So if he said those things and his people went ahead to do something, the guy even coincidentally was beaten by a group of people, how was he going to get himself freed from this? Because you had called for it. It was a similar thing Kennedy Japan did in respect of Ahmed Swale. And now, we have what we have on our hands. Whether it was because of what he said or not, now we do not know. So we don't talk like that, especially when you are an elderly person. Yendi, very unfortunate scenes that we saw there, and the attack on our journalist was the lowest point in the whole process. Otherwise, I think it was a good process, quite a nice process that the party was having. I think that by now, the police must do something decisive about the MP who attacked our journalist. There are quite some clear indications that he did attack the guy. And I don't know what the security people are doing. I'm sure they are investigating, and in good time we will hear from them. But the last thing you want to do is to attack a journalist, especially as the journalist was doing his work normally, reporting on what was happening. You approach him, or the person approaches you for an interview, and then you beat him up. I think it is not correct. It is wrong, and it should never happen. Apart from that, the happenings in that constituency, very regrettable. I don't even know how EC officials allegedly will be seeking to pad numbers for one candidate. I don't even know how come the ballot papers will have to be thrown around, and the whole thing about a party official, declaring one person winner when you know clearly that is not your job. I think it was a mess, and the party must put its feet together. Down firmly and deal with this. It shouldn't be happening in 21st century, parliamentary primaries.
Okay, Chairman, Yendi and
Adanse Asokwa. I think the political parties have found a way of giving themselves problems. They actually create the problems, nest the problems till the problems come to swallow them. Because you see, we have seen symptoms of the conduct of Katie Hammond during the presidential primaries. People threatening, people do. And to date, I don't see what the party did about these things. Okay, we will give you showdown. Nothing was done. So Katie Hammond, it gets to his turn, and he also says that I'll give you showdown.
Yeah.
And then he adds all those, it means that the party is happy with the thing. It only tells that the party endorses it. Because maybe I missed it, but I'm yet to see in clear, unequivocal terms how the party has articulated its abhorrence of such conduct.
Yeah.
You understand? So this thing is going on, today is Katie Hammond, tomorrow will be somebody else, until it gets to a point that we cannot contain.
Yeah.
And I think by now, Katie Hammond himself would have watched and seen that, no, I did not conduct myself well. It's not worthy of emulation by the younger politicians. And he should actually apologize to Ghanaians, because he actually is the sitting minister for trade. So, and you can't do that. You are angry, yes, rightly so. You have every justification to react, but the way you react sends another signal. And that's what we say that is unacceptable.
Yeah.
Now, the issue of the Yendi issue, I think, is just a notorious conduct of somebody who calls himself a member of parliament. Okay. We saw the videos.
Yeah.
We saw the videos. And now he says, well, he's suing the young man.
To retract and apologize, because it didn't happen.
Well, we saw the thing happen. And if what we saw is what it is, then it's a very shameful act from somebody who's supposed to be a member of parliament. And everybody has condemned except he himself.
Who's threatening?
Well, he can threaten, but he's not here. But I'm just saying that what we saw with our own eyes in the video, if it is what it is, then it's a very embarrassing thing for a member of parliament to go after somebody that you went to the same secondary school with, you stayed in the same year group with. Maybe there are some undercurrents that we don't know. But whatever it is, you have no justification. What if he had a weapon on him?
Yeah.
What if, in reacting, he did something for you to lose your life? It's such a primitive act. Very primitive.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And with the police and everybody there,
I'm disappointed that we've
very...
not seen any swift action from the police. And you see, the more we delay in dealing with such matters, the more people think that it's an okay conduct. It is wrong. It is a member of parliament. Parliament itself, maybe they are not in session, should be concerned and embarrassed by the conduct of one of their MPs. And you see, the Yendi area is a very important constituency in the history of the NPP. The NPP should be concerned. They should not sit there and say they are waiting for a report from the regional executive, blah, 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 before. They've not really condemned what has happened. Yes, you need a report, but there are times you pass, what we call preliminary comments. We've not seen any much of that, and they are still waiting for a report almost a week into the event. People have been injured, or people were beaten or harassed or abused. And what are you talking about? I think the MP should be called to order. He rather needs to apologize to the people and apologize to Alabira in the way he treated him. Everybody can sue, everybody can go to court. But whether the matter you take to court, can stand, the test of time and can stand the rigor of the process is another matter. It's not difficult going to court. You put a few things together, you go to court. Whether they will throw it away or not, it's another matter. But going to court is not difficult. You don't even need a lawyer to go to court. You can go to court on your own, file a process, serve the person, and you are in court. So that shouldn't be an issue at all. It's disgraceful. It must be condemned, and I really expect much more from the security agencies and the party itself.
All right. It's what the papers are saying. My name is Evan Kai. Look, I'm here with Selma Dono as well as Samuel Atamensa. When we come back, we'll look at some of the proposals being brought up by the Electoral Commission and the reactions from the main political parties, the NPP and the NDC. Do stay with us. We'll be right back.
Insightful, intriguing.
I feel like one of the reasons why Ghana is not doing well is that we don't have enough transformational leaders for public sector.
Intelligent and informative.
Almost every day, people are stealing from their bosses.
13 arrested for gunshots at Tamale.
Ghana has not recorded any incidents of piracy or armed robbery at sea since 2022.
Joseph Osei-Wusu says Bawumia will win NPP flag bearership race with over 60% of the votes.
I've been thinking, why is it that we still have fuel attendants in many of our filling stations?
Structural reforms in the area of bringing some efficiency in the way we manage government finances.
The Citi Breakfast Show offers an attractive alternative to the noisy mishmash of morning radio.
One of the reasons why things don't go well is that we, the citizens who claim that we want the right thing to be done, when we see it being done, we assume that, the guy, there's a Rambo, he can do everything on his own.
If like Bagba is 2020 and we're in 2023, and I had recorded that song.
So the song has been there for a while.
Exactly.
You want to reward the person, ask the person, first of all, what do you do? He says that I'm a trader. Can we help you to expand whatever?
Go back and trade.
Can we, he says, I want to go back to school. Can we get scholarship for you? That is help.
Tune in to the Citi Breakfast Show for passionate discussions on issues that matter and enjoy interviews where duty bearers and decision makers have their feet held to the fire. The Citi Breakfast Show airs from 6:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. every Monday to Friday on 97.3 Citi FM.
So welcome back to What the Papers Are Saying. My name is Vivian Kai. Look, I'm here with Samuel Atamensa as well as Selma Dono. We're looking at the big stories for the week. We've just gone through matters arising from the NPP's primaries, which took off on Saturday and ended with some interesting takeouts from that. We'll move to the elections, general elections proper, and look at some of the proposals put out by the EC. First of all, they wanted the election day change from the December 7th to November 7th. They say when they do it early, in case there is a runoff, they'll have enough time to prepare, among other things. There's also the issue of us voting on Saturday and its impact on people who worship on Saturday. And then, of course, there's a discussion on whether the voting day should be a holiday. We'll look at all these proposals put forward and what it means for the election proper and whether we should even be looking at some of the issues that are popping up. Of course, the new development around that is the NDC has gone back to IPAC, and so they are getting involved in the discussions as well. Salom, should we change this date? I mean, we've had runoffs, we've carried them out anyway.
Well, I think ordinarily it's a good suggestion. It's been on the drawing board since 2015 or so, and especially with what we saw in 2008, where the election almost went for 3 rounds. 7 December, I think 28 December, and sometime the first few days of the year we saw the time thing. What it means is that it leaves very little time for transition. And we saw how the Mills Kufuor transition was not quite thorough, a lot of people have said. And it put a lot of pressure on the system. And that is, I think, what the EC and all the stakeholders who are talking about the change of date, are referring to. So the suggestion is to change the date to November 7, so that between November 7 and December 7, or January 7, that's like 2 months.
2 months.
Like we see in the US, you have election first Tuesday of November, and inauguration day is, I think, 20th January or so. Give them quite some time to do all the transition things they have to do. But I think that the little difficulty is, my not confusion per se, but what I want to understand is the matter came up in 2015. What happened between 2015 and now that we are now having it? And 2015, when the matter came up, I think the NPP that was in opposition at the time was not really happy about it. NDC wanted it, and now it's turned. NDC is saying in principle they like it, but the timing of it is wrong, and now NPP wants it. There should be something there that we don't know about a change of date or something. But for me, given the explanation the EC has given, yes, it's fine. But my only difficulty is, why do you wait till now? Because if it's from 2015, we should have been seeing things before now. All of a sudden, you say you want to change it, and that is it. And I hear there is some unstated agreement or consensus that in election years, you do not introduce major reforms. You recall this issue about the Regional Coalition Center. And recently, Afarajan even said it was needless because it created another avenue for possible manipulation of results. We, as much as possible, must, free the system or the process of things that will raise suspicions. So I think they can engage further. They should engage more and see what they can come up with this. I don't know why the NDC is saying it's a new thing, or it's an election in a major decision or a major change like that should not happen. I don't know what they know, but I think it's good they've gone back to IPAC. They need to engage more, and we've seen the suspicion and mistrust, coming up again. The NDC says that at the IPAC meeting, over 50% or about 60, spoke against it. EC says about 60% were in support of it. So which is which? Just right there on a simple matter like this, we are getting it wrong and all of that. I think what the EC should be focused on doing is ensuring that they build trust and consensus amongst people. The way, allegedly, Jin Mensah and co have run the IPAC, which led to the NDC, it wasn't the best. Of course, we saw some public comments from Jin Mensah, what's the name, Sidun Kita, etc. Those things don't engender trust and confidence in the system. These are key players. The NDC is a key player in the process. The EC itself is a major player. NPP the same. The EC should be minded that it is important, it works hard to ensure there is trust and there is confidence. Without that, everything you do, you may have the best of intentions, but it could be misinterpreted. And that is what I think their focus should be.
So, should we change the date this election or wait till the next one? Is it not too short a time to...
it's too short. It is too short. I think, look, if none of the two parties is disagreeing in principle to the change of date, then at least it's half the work done. And we should now commit ourselves to determine when is the most appropriate time. But if it has to be done this year, I can understand why people think it's too much to be done if it has to be done in the same year of the election. So why don't we say maybe 2025? Okay, maybe 2025, so that we will educate everybody, prepare towards 2028. Is that correct? So I think that, yes, there's every good justification for the date to be brought forward, like we have in the US election. But I do not think that it's a do or die affair. If we haven't been able to reach a consensus among the major parties. I think what we should push for now is for all of us to agree that, okay, say 2025, this date, we'll take that decision. Everybody signs. That's something that we can work with.
Saturday elections, moving it from the Saturday for the religious part and the
I don't even know why they are doing this. I mean, religious means what?
The people have to go to church.
Which church?
Seventh-day Adventists is there.
And so what happens to the traditional African religion people?
Oh.
What happens to them? Those who go to church on Fridays. The Muslims come to tell us that we shouldn't vote on Fridays. Have you heard it before? I mean, the best is to have a date. If the date falls on Monday, Tuesday, whenever it is, it's a date. We go and vote. If we try exempting people because of religious, excuses, we have more than how many religions? And each day of the week means something to a religious group. Clearly, the Muslims have not said that, as for us, we go to church on so and so day, so we go to the mosque, so nobody should go and vote, or we want
Fridays.
to, I mean, the only thing you do if your religion forbids you to do that is not to do it. It's also democracy. The choice to either do it or not. You understand? So I don't think that we should, as a country, throw resources about just to, because it won't be productive. There's the people there, traditional African religion. There are people who hold other days, Tuesday.
Yeah.
Sacred. You are a Ghana. Go to the Shona.
Don't go to the
on Tuesdays,
yeah.
There's something about every day. So I'm just saying that, so you do for them, then we won't do the elections.
Everybody will be affected one way or the
So
other.
for me, let's leave the thing on the date and live with it. Those who can vote, they should vote. Those who cannot vote, just live your life.
But with 2024, December 7th, is it even on Saturday at all, or is there something? I'm not sure it's even on Saturday.
It falls on Saturday,
Does
I
it fall on
believe.
Saturday?
Yeah, it falls on Saturday.
Okay.
I think that's
But even
right.
there was an election.
It falls on Saturday.
There was an election on Sunday.
Yeah, 2008.
We voted.
And the turnout was 71%.
We voted. So if Sunday, which is the major day for a lot of Christians going to church, we voted on that and the turnout was good. I mean, I don't see... People will say a lot of things.
Yeah, we've also had an election on Saturday, 1996. The turnout was 78%. Actually, our lowest turnouts have been on Tuesday, 1992. And there's another date I can't find here. But 1992, Tuesday, 50.16. There was a reason for it.
It was a boycott because, they had done the parliamentaries.
The presidential first.
The presidential first, and there was whole talk about, so I think...
We can't use it. But then
yeah.
the Saturday and Sunday turnouts were pretty good, 1996 and 2008.
So if Sunday turnout was good, Saturday, and from the record, Saturday...
they are not talking about turnout. They are talking about themselves.
Yes.
That on that day, they cannot vote.
The sacred nature of the day.
So they can't do anything else apart from worshipping.
Yes, that their religion forbids them to do any work
on
Saturday. And nobody takes that away from you. What I am saying here is there are other persuasions, religious persuasions, that also exempt other days of the week. So we take it from Saturday and put it where? Which day again? Because the Tuesday that you are going, there are some people who also hold Tuesday sacred.
Yeah.
So it's an area that we shouldn't play around with. Otherwise, it will blow up in our faces.
The voting day as a holiday.
That's interesting. It's so far it's not been a holiday, but we've had all we've seen. I've heard some interesting analysis on this. Others say they registered or they register where they spend a lot of their time work. So if it's a holiday, it means they're not going to come to town at all. Others also say they register where they live. So if it's a normal work day, it means they have to leave home very early, and so it means they cannot vote. I think the solution, if these are the considerations, the solution is somewhere in the middle. Employers should just give half day. I mean, come to work half day.
I mean, you give half day, okay.
But my thing is, of all the problems we have associated with elections, these things shouldn't stand in our way.
Yeah.
I don't think the voting day, holiday, no holiday has.
It's not major. It's not an issue.
It's not an issue.
And in fact, no employer really is going to insist.
Come at you for
don't
not,
come to.
yeah.
I mean, it's an easy day. It's a loose day.
So
it's a non-issue really.
Proper
it's
issues related to the elections.
The Electoral Commission, the parties are saying must, put out its calendar. That's a major issue. That's what we should really be concerned about. When is the next limited voters registration exercise? Are we using the Ghana card or not? Well, these are the issues we really need to deal with, and not these ones. The EC must bring out the calendar. The timelines must be clear. By this day, the parties receive the register or the draft register, whatever they call it. By this day, this happens. We should know those things. The parties must know those things and work with them. That is the only way. In fact, in the NPP election, we didn't hear a lot of issues about albums because the party ensured that the candidates were given the albums at the time they said they were going to give them. They had time to go through it, to do whatever they would do. So we didn't have any issue about, albums not coming early, some people's names getting missing. We didn't hear a lot of that because they did it right. And if at this micro level, they know how to do it, is the EC telling us that they do not know? They should do it and do it well because, we are growing and we can't be taking mistakes or issues arising from these common mistakes any longer. They need to sit up and do what is right.
Okay, we'll move away from elections. Let's go to some good news coming from the courts this week, having to do with, finally, judgment for those who murdered Major Mahama, 12 jailed for life, 2 freed. We are told that the jury system could be scrapped to make way for reforms to address cases to move faster. Because you are the legal person, I'll start with you on this matter. The jury case and then, of course, the Major Mahama thing. People think they shouldn't have been given life, but the death sentence as well.
Well, I think the death sentence, there are issues with that. I think it's been repealed.
Yeah.
So the judge wouldn't have given them death sentence. So that's what it is. What we are struggling with is the one in the Armed Forces Act. I think the president signed this one first, and later realized that no, he didn't. Now, so he will not sign these other ones. So that I think is addressed. The jury system, yes. So what happens really is we have a system where the judge becomes a trial of fact and the trial of law. So he listens to the fact and the evidence and everything, and then he determines it. We have instances where the judge is only the trial of the law, and then the fact is tried by the jury. So the jury is made up of a number of people, I think about 7 people or so, who are picked from various places. They could be picked from anywhere. So they can come to your workplace and say they need one person, often in the public service. They need one person to sit on this case, and they could be on the case for a very long time. And so, just as an aside, so people give people they don't really need at work to go and sit there, because if it's a murder case and it's going to take this one 5 years.
5 years, you don't want to lose your best.
So that's just by the way. So they sit and they hear the case. The idea is that they listen to it with ordinary mind because they are not lawyers. And in fact, if you have a law background, you are actually disqualified. You cannot be part. They listen to it with ordinary mind, and in the end, the judge will have to do what we call the summation. The judge will sum up the evidence and everything, and then tell them. They move in, they go out to a room and take a decision. When they come back, they have one they call the foreman, who is their spokesperson. So the foreman will announce to the court that this is the decision they have taken. Out of this number said this number said that. And based on that, the judge will now go back into chambers and prepare for sentencing and come and then deliver a judgment or sentencing based on the outcome they have brought. So if you recall, in this particular one, the conviction occurred and it took a few hours before the sentencing itself was done. Yes, there have been issues with the jury system everywhere in the world. So calling for reforms about the jury system may be long overdue, but how do we hope to do it? Are we going to leave the judge alone to be the trial of fact and trial of law in matters like this? These are trial by indictment. Are we saying that we want to leave the judge alone to do it that way, or we still want to employ the jury? The jury, they listen to the thing, they listen to the story. So when you're in law school, they teach you how to appeal to the jury. There are things you say that will get the jury on your side. You know, you have to appeal to them. So when they understand, because there are ordinary people in the community, we are made to believe. So they think, you know, could this thing the person did, could an ordinary person have behaved that way? You know, and they put all of that together. They listen to the case, they do everything. Now they go and make a decision and come back. So it is based on their decision that the judge makes, you know, give the sentence. And the judge's hand really is tied. Once that decision has been made, there's very little the judge can do about it, you know. So that is it. Some reforms, yes. In terms of choosing their people or scrapping it entirely, I'm not quite sure. It's a system employed by many countries in the world. Reform, yes, we need some reforms in that arena. But scrapping it entirely, I am not sure.
Okay.
And again, I mean, in terms of the case itself, I think it brings to an end a very sad matter. Major Mahama, then Captain Mahama, very young, promising young soldier, lost his life in that gruesome manner. I think it's terrible. And I think the judgment now, or the decision of the court now, should send a strong signal to people that whatever you do, one day there will be a day of judgment. And if the court determines that it is wrong, you will be punished in a manner that is befitting of the crime. You know, it's terrible that somebody will have to die that way. But there's justice served now. Even though justice has been served, it gives
6
closure
years,
to the family. But it doesn't bring back the human being. That pain is there forever. You had a child, or you had children, you had a wife, and all of that. It's terrible, and I'm not sure anybody should die in this manner.
Okay. Let's take your thoughts around this.
Well, I think for me, the good thing about this is the signal that it sends to our various communities, you know, about this mob action thing where communities just go after, before you see they've killed a person. The next day they say, oh, no, no. You know, things like that. So at least now people know that, or people will know that you can't get away with some of these things. And for me, that's a positive side of it.
Okay. We have a few minutes to go. I think we can touch quickly on the emissions levy. You've started paying effective first. If I look at your car, you'll be doing 150-ish, 200. If I look at some businesses, you'll be doing 300.
You get to a new category.
300-ish. And all that. Your quick thoughts. People say, no, we can't be adding more, you know, bills to us. And this emission tax levy really. 1 minute.
Again, I think the principle is good. The principle is good, but the implementation has always.
Principle again?
I mean,
paying?
No, I mean,
deal with
reducing the carbon.
By we paying.
No, so that's what I'm getting there. I mean, the principle generally of having a way to deal with emissions, etc., it's not bad. It ties in with this whole, you know, emission, carbon, what's the name, climate change agenda and all of that. But what I do not understand is, you know, the omnibus nature of it. Every car is slapped with it. I thought what they should do is maybe, if the car is this number of years old, maybe there's this amount of money you have to pay to discourage people from bringing in old cars or using old cars. But this whole, you know, blanket, you know, slapping of everybody with this, I don't really see it. I don't see how it discourages people from using cars. It only appears punitive to me, especially as there are very few or inaccessible alternatives. The alternative they are pointing us to is electric cars. But how many of them do we have in the system, and how many people can afford them? You know, so that for me is where the problem is. The fact that it is not discriminatory. Everybody has to pay. It doesn't really make sense.
But you know, you are living in a country where you'll be driving and you see a vehicle smoking on all sides and waving at a policeman. Nobody is angry about it. We see these big trucks smoking from the exhaust. Nothing happens to them. We have skipped all these and we've gone to the place of everybody must pay, while these smoking vehicles have their way on our roads. Maybe it's more a revenue generation strategy rather than a climate management situation. And this is the country where every money received goes to the consolidated fund, and then they will tell you when your money that we have received is ready. Then the climate will perish. If our climate is going to look up to our consolidated fund in this country, then the climate, we are finished. Because the money they will collect is going somewhere. And that somewhere is going to join a queue.
It's a bottomless pit.
You see, so I'm just saying that, government needs money, no two ways about that. But I'm thinking that this approach, I fear whether it will achieve its aim.
And I think that the other goal or objective of it is to unlock bigger funding from, I mean, the green money, unlock some of the green money, because if those people see that you are implementing some green measures, they are more likely to release some funding.
Implementing.
So that's implementation.
That's the thing.
It's a problem.
No, collecting is not implementing. I mean, the world over, everywhere that I've seen this emission taxes introduced, there's major upheaval. I mean, remember the taxes, the London one, how do you call it? You know, some form of emission tax. If you have to drive, you pay penalty for driving your car into the city center.
The
congestion charges, yes. Yeah. But people notice that, Charlie, I will drive anyway and pay.
Well, thank you guys very much, Samuel Tamens as well as Selim Adonu, for joining me for today's edition of What the Papers Are Saying. My name is Vivian Kailoko. Thank you too for joining us. We hope to see you again next week. Goodbye.